Hello and welcome to Mindful Living, where we explore the art of living with the intention, balance, and inner peace. I am Avik, your host, guiding you through conversations on health, meditation, mental well being, mindfulness, and the mind body connection. Each episode features expert insights to help you grow, heal, and thrive. So, take a deep breath, relax, and join us on this journey to a more mindful and fulfilling life. So, let's get started.
Hello and welcome back, listeners, to Mindful Living Podcast. I'm your host, Sana, and today we are thrilled to have a very special guest with us, Ria Flanagan, whose energy and wisdom remind us that happiness really is an inside job. Ria is a counselor specializing in trauma and addiction recovery, a podcast host, and the author of the empowering Happiness is an Inside Job Playbook. She's also a mom, wife, and doctoral student. So, if anyone knows about finding the balance and joy amid life's ups and downs, it's her. And Ria is here today to share daily practices from her playbook that can help us all increase our happiness levels from the inside out. So, listeners, get ready for some actionable tips, inspiring insights, and a whole lot of positivity. So, Ria, welcome to the show, and it's an absolute pleasure having you today with us.
Thank you so much. It's really exciting to be here, and also I'm just grateful to be able to give this message to more people. And I think that's a big reason why I end up putting a book together, because originally I had created a course for all my clients during COVID to help them regulate their nervous system. And it was daily practices, daily lessons that, anyone could do for maybe 5 to 20 minutes a day, and then build a routine from some of these things that work for them. There's like 42 different tools, lessons, and things in the book, but there's a lot of other referrals to videos, books, authors, doing yoga, doing all these kinds of things in the book. And so Happiness is an Inside Job Playbook came from my course, Living a Rise Up Mindset, which I, again, had done for my clients. I think in my practice, I have other counselors. So I think about 90 people completed the course successfully. Everybody completed it, which is rare for a course. And then I had really good feedback. So I thought, okay, maybe this could help more people. Right? Like maybe these are things that I can kind of put together and help more people. And then I had someone help me illustrate the book. And so it's very immersive. It's very, it has like a lesson and then like an exercise, an activity, a playbook activity, something to help you either get more into your emotions, figure out more about your life purpose, maybe identify limiting beliefs, really, and so that you can start changing them, and then actionable steps to make those changes. And so it has been such a joy to bring this into the world. It's something that one of my counselors, I didn't say you have to get the book or you have to, use the book. And she's like, oh, I'm using it with my client, And then I had a friend text me from California, because I went to school in California and I moved to Arizona. But she texted me the other day, like, I'm in a group with my guys and we're using your book and we're doing the emotions one and they love it. And so just getting this feedback, knowing that, like, my husband said, if you help one person, it was worth it.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so, no, I didn't know how much work goes into putting a book out into the world, but I have 2 children. This was like my third child. It's a lot of work.
Definitely. Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Lovely, lovely. That's a really warm beginning to this beautiful conversation. And Ria, was there a personal journey that sparked this entire work? The journey to your third baby.
Yes, I think just, I was actually pregnant at the time when I started writing the course, and with my daughter. And I think, I really also was like, how do I like help more people, but also, right, like work less, because I want to be with my kids more. And so I thought maybe creating a book, maybe creating something that could create eventually some passive income. I mean, it's just out there, so I haven't seen any of that yet, but just having something that I get to help more people, but then also have more time for my family. And I think it's because there's always a need, right? As a counselor, I hired more people during COVID to help more of our community. There's always a need, but I think burnout is a real thing for us, working in mental health. We have to also create ways to have more time off because it is the work of the soul, right? It's very emotional work. I do trauma and addiction. So these are difficult things to work with. And so part of this also is that my clients needed things to be doing in between sessions, right? Because we need, like, the way we live, it's like you don't just go to the gym and work out one time and change your body, right? You have to be consistent. You have to be in daily practices. So that was another big piece of the book, is like between sessions, you need to be doing these things because we won't change very quickly if we just go to one session a week, right? We've got to be practicing the things in between the sessions, right? If we're going to change our beliefs, if we're going to change our self-talk, we've got to be practicing every day. And so having a guide, having a tool to help people do that, I think is powerful. And we all need support, right? I mean, we're not meant to be alone in this world.
That's true. That's true. So many people feel happiness depends on external circumstances, money, uh, societal validations, physical appearance, and whatnot. What daily practices do you suggest for cultivating genuine happiness, or rather a better word, joy from within?
Well, here, I think that you're absolutely right. I think there's some toxicity in our cultures, right? Where social media or, trying to, again, like, I'm going to be happy when, right? When I marry the person, when I get the house, when I have the job, when I do this. And so it's like living in, like, waiting for happiness rather than, wait, actually, happiness is in the moments, right? It's being present and connected to our bodies. So I did like a 3-year program with Dr. Peter Levine's somatic experiencing, which as a counselor and a human really helped me get more embodied, right? So we need to be connected to our heart, right? It's not just our head making decisions. We need to make decisions from an aligned place where we're centered in our body, where we're feeling our emotions, which is one of the reasons too, like working with trauma, we have to get regulated. We have to find ways. If we have trauma, we need to work through it, right? EMDR, SE, IFS, there's many different modalities that research has proven can help you move through trauma. But when we're dysregulated, we can't really feel emotions, really, right? It's more of like the fight, flight, fear response, which is a physiological response. And so, first moving out trauma so that we can be at peace, right? Because happiness is connected to peace, because if we're not at peace, then we're not open to the feelings. We're not open, and all the feelings have gifts, right? So if you really think about it, and so we've got to move out the fear. We've got to move those things out so that we make room to even hold happiness. And then it's being mindful. It's being in the moments. It's that moment with my daughter where we're giggling together. It's right. It's the moment where I'm in my garden and a flower has bloomed. It's these simple moments that if we're racing through life trying to get happiness, we're missing it. We're actually missing it.
I totally agree with you.
We have to slow down. We have to be present. And it's not, yes, I wrote a book about happiness, but it's really about feeling all the emotions, because we're not one emotion. Even if we can increase levels of happiness, absolutely. And my book gives tons of ways to do that. But there's this piece of if we're avoiding feeling the pain, well, then we're missing the healing, growth, and awareness that comes from that, right? If we're avoiding, right, feeling these emotions that are actually what helps us grow and mature, then right, we're in a state of numbing out, right? And I think addiction now, it's not just drugs and alcohol, right? Addiction is to sex, pornography, TV, right? Binge watching TV, our screens, video games, right? Gambling. I mean, there's so many ways that people numb out from themselves that they're not making life decisions from a place of knowing. And so that's so dangerous, right? Because if you're going to college and going on a career path that your parents wanted you to, rather than what you truly feel in your soul, heart, body, right, is right for you, then you may not even be living your life purpose, right? You may be living somebody else's idea of a life purpose.
Exactly. Yeah. Of course, we're conditioned in that way, and now we are completely chained to the rhythm. We are constantly
Mhm.
on that, hamster wheel.
Yes.
Great.
No, you said it, hamster wheel, right? That's what that looks like. It's like I'm running and I'm running and I'm trying to get there, but it's not a happiness is not a destination, right? It's more about being present and then allowing, right, the emotions so that you can hold happiness, right?
Mm.
And getting comfortable with even holding happiness, because sometimes I'll be working with clients and they're, maybe they're on antidepressants and they're doing all these things that, okay, I do feel better, but then they're kind of like, well, but who am I now? I'm so used to feeling down or running all the time, or who am I? It's like sometimes we have to even get to know ourselves when we slow down,
True.
right? What happens when we slow down? And is there negative thoughts or negative thinking or negative beliefs that we need to move out? Because sometimes people slow down and go, "Ooh, I can see I was actually running to avoid things." Right? I'm in that hamster wheel because underneath that I don't feel good enough, or underneath that I don't feel, or I feel like, I'm not important or I'm not lovable, or whatever that belief that may be from a childhood or something happened, right? Because we form beliefs very early, right? It can be like around 5, 6 years old, we're starting to form beliefs by what's happening in the world. And our brains aren't fully developed when we're forming these beliefs, right? So it's something to really notice, right? What do I truly believe about myself when I slow down and I'm in my body? So helping people move out the beliefs that aren't true, right? The lies that maybe we're telling ourselves because something went wrong, or maybe a parent worked all the time and just felt like, oh, I'm not lovable. They never want to spend time with me. But maybe the parent just had to work to keep the house going
Yeah.
and all these things. So, yeah. So I know that was a long answer to a question, but.
Definitely needed a long answer, because these topics, they need a lot of different perspectives, because it's not an objective answer. It can be so different to all the people around the world. So definitely that was a great discussion we had about this question. And moving on, as you mentioned about trauma and addiction recovery, how do these practices, which mentioned in your playbook, they support people in navigating difficult emotions and finding that inner peace?
I think the book also really talks about, right, like gives some education around, not only mental health therapy, getting a coach, getting support, allowing different, because again, if we're the ones that are here and then we're the ones trying to do it by ourselves to fix the problem, that's kind of a problem, because we kind of got ourselves somehow here in the first place. So there's a piece of like finding a trusted coach, therapist, guide person that really has the tools, or reading the books, right? I found a book by Dan Millman when I was 16, I think, which was a coaching book. And it was really enlightening for me. Having those daily practices, having somebody that had the experiences to guide me, and realizing, even having self-help books, self-development books, different options, reading, learning, like your podcast, like different ways. I do a workshop for childhood trauma that helps people move out of limiting beliefs, called the Empowerment Workshop. And that comes from Pia Melody's work, post-induction therapy, and it gets into the subconscious mind and uses experiential methods. I do that in a 3-day intensive. I used to do it in groups. A lot of times I now just do it with individual clients, but it's really powerful work. I did that work myself. Realized that sometimes just straight talk therapy isn't getting to the underlying subconscious belief systems. So having methods, having different ways to get into the subconscious, like experiential work and things like that, can really be like transformative, because in the logical cognitive brain, we can know, okay, well, things need to be different, but if those belief systems are running in the subconscious, how do we change that? So there's different ways, different therapeutic ways, different, some people really like hypnotherapy. And my book mentions as many different type of ways that I've found in my career that I could present to people, because I don't think it's just one way, right? Like one person, you say a couple, maybe the wife goes to therapy and that really helps her. But then the husband is more comfortable working with a coach, right? There's not one way. I think it's just finding credible, educated people that have good ethics and, training and education around these things. So, that they're researched and valuable methods. But again, I think if we could do it ourselves in some areas, we would, but sometimes we really need the support, right? Of maybe it's an app that does, guided meditations. Maybe, right, it's a therapist that you do a workshop with. Maybe it's a self-help book that you do journaling and follow the exercises. Maybe it's working with a group of people. That's my next piece, is I want to get groups together to do the workbook together and support each other, because I think community is really helpful. And I did some online groups during COVID, which was really helpful for people. And I think, coming together, having accountability and working through things in community. I mean, that's one of the reasons 12 Steps is so successful and all around the world, is that it's helped so many people. And it's not the only way to be sober and all of that. There's other ways, but a lot of them do. It is about working with others, getting support, community, things like that are really powerful.
True, true. So as a counselor and mother, how do you personally incorporate these happiness practices into your busy daily life? It can be so busy. I mean, we can't even imagine.
Oh, it is. It is. And I was just saying, I mean, I don't do it perfectly. I think that's a big piece. And I talk about perfectionism in the book and how that can be about never not feeling good enough and always trying to prove that you're worthy. And when we get that we're enough and we get that we're worthy, we don't have to prove it anymore. And part of that is like, we're not going to be, in this state of peace and happiness all the time, and we're going to have to change things up. Sometimes my schedule and my practices are working, and then other times I get sick and something goes wrong. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, I've got to juggle all these things. And so sometimes it's really like asking for help when we need it, right? Sometimes it's going, you know what, like everything was going really well, but now, I need a little more time or space, or I need to go to do some hot yoga. I need to, right, meet with my girlfriends. I need to, do some reading. I need to do some, whatever it is. And carving out the time, I think we can get so busy, and there really is a toxic culture of doing. I think, and I'm someone that I can get in flow. When I'm in flow with doing, like I'm really in a good cycle, and I'm balancing self-care with family, with work. Like it's great. It's wonderful. But there's going to be times where that balance goes off, and it's so much about not shaming or judging or, beating ourselves up when that happens. I think it's normalizing that things go wrong in life, that things don't always, right, go as planned. And how we react to that is a really big part of how we handle it. So if it's not the end of the world, right? It's not the end of the world if I didn't get all my practices in that help me feel better and, have a great day. I will manage, right? And I don't have to beat myself up, because a lot of times that negative self-talk, that judge, that critic, that's a big part. If we remove that, and things don't go right, it's more like, okay, that didn't work out. Let's, there's other options. Let's figure it out. We can problem solve this. Like we got this. So it's amazing when you take the inner critic out, how much easier things are when they don't go right. But I do a lot of the things in my book. I do meditation. I do yoga. I do a lot of gratitude, setting intentions for the day, really looking like setting goals, working on removing the inner critic, the bully, just mindfulness, being aware when it comes up so I can change course, right? I can choose a different way. Like instead of beating myself up, I can go, oh, that's okay. Like, let's figure it out. Let's be more of like the supportive, compassionate coach to myself rather than the negative, judgmental, bully, right? So I think the mindfulness piece is key all the time, and being present in our bodies helps with that.
Definitely. And in a world where social pressures and expectations are constant, do you think it is realistic for people to prioritize happiness as an inside job?
I think so, because I think when we choose to have boundaries around ourselves, right? Really like that I want to enjoy life. I want to, right, that I'm not going to give my peace away, that I'm going to say no, right? I'm going to make sure that I have the oxygen mask on first. And the reason is if I don't have it on, then I'm not going to be able to help anybody else. We really can only take people so far, right, as we've gone in our own lives. And so it is so important for the counselors, the healers, the coaches to also do their own work, because if they're not going to be able to really be there for others in the ways that they need them. And so sometimes that if we're not prioritizing that inner peace and that inner work, you know, I've talked to people before. They're like, "Oh, I just don't have time for me. I've got to work. I've got to be with the kids. I got to do this." Yeah, but if you're not doing that time for you, everything else is going to be right on eggshells. You're juggling a ball that's going to drop. And so it is such a priority, and setting that intention every day that I'm going to protect my peace. I'm going to say no when I need to. I'm going to ask for help when I need to, because if I'm okay, I radiate that everywhere else. Just like hurt people, right? So it is our responsibility as adults to heal those wounds, to take care of ourselves so we aren't hurting others, even if it's absentmindedly or we're unaware of it. If we're not fully taking care of ourselves, we probably are dropping the ball in areas of our lives.
That's true. So, before we wrap up, Ria, this absolutely lovely conversation, what advice would you give to someone just starting to explore the idea that happiness is a choice they can cultivate?
I would tell them to never give up. I would tell them to advocate for themselves. I would encourage them to explore many options, to make it playful and fun, to go on adventures, to seek out what it is that really does bring them joy, because they're worth it, and that their lives matter, that they're important, that being in their own life purpose is only going to bring better things to the world. And if we were all truly in our own life purpose, I think the world would be a lot better off. I think we may have my biggest dream, which is peace on earth. So even if it starts with just one person, there's a ripple effect. So that's what I would say.
Lovely, lovely. That's a beautiful message to all of us. And finally, if our listeners they want to access your book, Happiness is an Inside Job Playbook, and also connect with you to explore more about your resources, how they can do that.
Yes. So the book is on Happiness is an Inside Job Playbook is on Amazon. It just got a Book Fest award in the category of nonfiction for success and happiness. Very excited about that. And I also do coaching and workshops, and you can reach me at www.rise, R-I-S-E, up, U-P, recover, R-E-C-O-V-E-R, A-Z for Arizona, az.com.
Lovely. We'll have all the details mentioned in the playbook. And Ria, first of all, congratulations. And thank you so much for joining us today and sharing such incredible insights from your book, Happiness is Inside Your Playbook. And you have given us some really great practical, uplifting practices that remind us that happiness truly comes from within, no matter what life throws our way. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
And for our listeners, don't forget to check out Ria's book and her podcast, Happiness Playbook series, for more inspiration and tools to cultivate joy in your everyday life. Ria, just one quick question. How our listeners can listen to your podcast as well?
Yes, on YouTube and Spotify, just look up Happiness Playbook series with Ria Flanagan. Yeah, so I'm on a few different ones, but definitely Spotify and YouTube and Apple as well. I think, yes.
We'll have
Thank you.
these details mentioned as well. And listeners, thank you for tuning into this episode of The Mindful Living. Stay mindful, stay present, and stay happy. This is your host, Sana, signing off.